What's up, guys? It's the Waddle J doing my long overdue, much highly anticipated review over the Lil Bastard self-defense device. The Lil Bastard is named by me, actually, of all people. The reason I'm doing this is because Imminent Threat Defense, the company that makes these guys, put up their prototype. I don't think it was this one. They put up their prototype on Instagram and they said, "Hey, anybody know what we should call this little bastard?" And I said, "Well, I think you already have the name right there." And then about 3 or 4 other people below me agreed with me, and they thought it was a good enough name that they decided to send it to me for testing and evaluation, do a little review over it. And that was about a month ago. Sorry guys, I'm kind of slow when it comes to things. But finally, after much ado, here it is, my review of this little guy. This is I'm going to use the term self-defense device because it kind of reminds me of like a little knuckle duster or a brass knuckle, but even in my state, having some like brass knuckles are outlawed by name, so this can't actually be a brass knuckle. That being said, it still isn't a brass knuckle by basically any definition of that term, so I'm not like breaking any laws by having this. But the reason I'm calling it a self-defense device is because there's a couple of names that you could call this thing that are outlawed in some states by name, and that's something you really need to look into. But less legality, and let's stop looking at the legalities of things and let's start looking into this individual. This is a solid machined piece of aluminum stock. It's made to fit around one finger, about like that. I don't really know what these holes or even these holes are there for. Wyatt Derp from High Capacity TV has his he keeps his keys on like a carabiner, and he clips them onto this little hole right here so he can keep it like that, and then it becomes more of a key fob instead of just a pure self-defense device, which, if you want to think about it in terms of legality, would make it a key fob that happens to be made out of solid aluminum and has these big old holes in it, I guess for weight saving, you could say, that you just happen to be able to wrap your fingers through. So then, if you're in a state where some sort of device that's only intent is for self-defense, it would be outlawed, you would be able to clip your keys on there, and now it's a key fob instead of a knuckle duster, or a self-defense device, as I'm going to call it. It is obviously made out of aluminum. It's machined. You can see the tool marks right there on it. That's not a bad thing, really. I think it's pretty cool looking. It's got this blemish right here, and then on the other side it's got a lot more of the same. And what I found out is it's actually like acid etched. I have no idea how they do it, but each one looks slightly to significantly different from the rest, and honestly looks pretty cool. Like on this side, you're like, "Oh man, what is that?" And you turn over and go, "Oh, that's like a design. It's an aesthetic feature that they did on purpose." And on this side, it looks really cool. And then it kind of bleeds over onto that side, and it actually makes it look pretty cool overall. Let's see, another feature. It comes with this paracord. Yours may be yellow, yours may be orange, maybe baby blue, or maybe camel. I have no idea. It's got these 2 knots in it right here at the end, that the ends are obviously burned off on mine. And then it's got a shell casing, of all things, right there on the side. In mine, I don't know if you can really get it in focus, but mine is a 7mm Magnum shell casing. I think some of them are like 308 or something like that, but mine's a solid 7mm Magnum, and I think that's really, really cool. I like that it's not just a bullet casing, but like it's a bullet casing from an awesome caliber. So that's the cord. Let's see this thing. These guys, like I said, some people use them to clip keys onto. I guess you could use it to like put paracord through. I guess if you were in a survival situation, you could like put like a stick or like a dowel rod right here, and then you could use that to lash it onto there, so you would have a really, really terrible spear. But I guess these guys are really basically for whatever you want to. When I was using it, I would always put my finger through here, and I would rest my middle and my index finger in these two holes almost as like index points. So I could put it like that, and I could get a really solid grip, and I would know exactly where my fingers are the whole time. Alright, now we've got into the grip. This is really where my one biggest complaint, and by biggest I mean this is the thing that I disliked about it the most. And I really didn't even dislike it that much. It's like, this is my biggest complaint, and it's not even really that big a deal. It is, I don't have small hands. Mine are like classified as large, maybe extra large, and like glove size, so probably medium to slightly on the large side of hands. And this hole, as you can see, is way too big for my index finger. In fact, it's really big even compared to my middle finger. Now I know the guy who makes these, he's a big old boy. I mean, he's obviously much larger than me, and by the size of this hole right here, I'm assuming that if he used his own finger for a guide and he made it to fit his hand, that's why it's so big, and he would have some huge hands. And so then for him, this may fit really well, and it may fit really good. But for me and for everybody smaller than me, I actually had a couple of female friends of mine. I had it with me, and I just had them hold it like that and say, "How does that feel?" And they all unanimously said, "It's too big." Like, for me, it still fits pretty good. Like, I could still make it work just about as good as anybody else could. And I don't mean like, oh, I can make it work. I mean like, it'll work good. I can get it to do what I need to do pretty easily. But even for me, it's like, it's on the big side of working. It feels much bigger than this. I would probably even have some trouble using it myself. And then for anybody who has like medium size hands, it might be just too big. And if you have smaller size hands, forget about it. Go get something else. So that's my one biggest complaint, and I think the biggest drawback to this individual design. Now, of course, that can very easily be remedied by creating like another version of this, like a slim down, just kind of like size it down about probably 20% in every direction. Like I said, this being whatever this size, like whatever this dimension is, have to be about that much. Probably keep all these holes the same, but like definitely bring in that one, have it probably 75% the original diameter, something like that. Like even keep the thickness the same. That's pretty good. Keep these little points, these dull edges where they are. I like those, honestly. But just maybe kind of shrink it down in general, just in overall size, and maybe even keep this size as the original, then like a medium size, or like you could say it's the smaller size. And I mean, just so that it'll fit more people's hands, and you would have a hell of a deal on your hand. Like, you would have an excellent little device to put on the market there. So that was my biggest complaint. My second complaint, and this one is about just as serious as my first one, which is to say it's really not that big a deal. And that's to say that it's not even that big a deal. It's just like the other one. It's just a small minor thing that some people may take issue with. And that is, unless you put this on a key ring, what is this? This is a knuckle duster. This is a device that's meant to hit people. Some states, maybe even mine, would still get mad and come into legal issues with this device because it has no purpose besides being used to hit people. Now, like I said, I carry a gun every day, so it doesn't matter if I have a piece of aluminum in my pocket that's made to hit people. I have a piece of steel underneath my shirt that was made to shoot bad guys. So what if I have this thing that allows me to hit a bad guy slightly harder? Some states, including my own, may not agree with that, and they may frown upon it. Or this is ridiculous. This is like getting mad at somebody for throwing a cigarette butt out next to a bonfire. I know some states won't allow you to carry a knife for purposes of being armed. You could carry a 5-inch fixed blade on the outside of the waistband, just in open view for everybody to see, and if a cop asks you about it, you say, oh yeah, no, I take that with me when I go fishing, and it's perfectly legal. But if you respond to the question, why do you have that, and your answer is for protection, then it becomes illegal. I know, it's a weapon law. It's just like every other weapon law out there. It makes absolutely no sense. But unfortunately, we still have to abide by them. So in some states, this little self-defense device, as it sits, may be illegal. You may be able to tell a guy it's a bottle opener. You'd have to be pretty good with it, I guess. You could clip your little keys on there, and you could say, oh, it's a key fob that kind of looks like a little ghost or something. I like the way it looks. And you could maybe get away with it there. But I really didn't put this on my keys. I kept a little lanyard on it. Obviously, I didn't get pulled over, get arrested, or get taken away from me. So as far as I can tell, I'm fine in my state. But some people may not be legally allowed to carry this. Now, one similar device that gets rid of that issue is the decapitator, or the, I think it's LaRue, has like a little armadillo keychain thing. That is basically a device very similar to this. The little finger hole is cut out, and then like over here it has like a little bottle opener in it. So what it becomes is a silhouette of an armadillo that's also a bottle opener that you also happen to be able to wrap your finger in it and jab people. So then if anybody ever asks you about it, like, oh, it's a little armadillo bottle opener. Oh, that's cool. And then you can hit people with it if you need to. You just conveniently leave that part out. This thing doesn't have that alibi. What is it? Oh, it's a thing. It's a little ghost thing. Yeah, no. Nobody's going to buy that. So with those two, I guess you could say shortfalls, not even really complaints, because like I said, for me and probably most of the other people that are even interested in this, it's a non-issue. But like I said, it's made to accommodate people with hands much larger than mine, and it may not be 100% legal in some states because it has no other purpose that you could easily pass it off as, besides it's made to hit bad guys in the face. So with those two things in mind, if you can get over those two, I think you would have, like, this thing is definitely for you. If they could come out with a design that's like basically exactly like this, but just 20% smaller, you would get rid of my biggest concern. If you could put something else on here to like give it an alibi, if you will, to actually give it some usefulness besides hitting bad guys in the face or just like twirling it around on your finger when you're bored, that you could actually pass it off as, if you ever get stopped with and somebody questions you about it, you could come up with a reason that you have it besides to hit people who annoy you, then it would make it only better. That being said, ergonomics. Like I said before, it is made for somebody with hands just a touch too significantly bigger than mine, and one way that shows is I put it in my hand like this. My finger isn't even touching the inside of this ring when I put on this little index hole, but this corner is definitely digging down into my palm like that, and that's, right there. And like I said, it's not really a big deal, but I have been testing it out, and I hit my door frame a couple of times, and you can definitely feel it right there in I can feel it anyway, right in my palm right there where it comes back and it hits. And of course the finger hole is so big that it doesn't even come close to being supported by my index finger, which is a good thing. But you do have this corner that's not really even sharp, but it does focus the pressure of the impact right into my palm right there, even through the meat of my hand down into the bone. So you hit something, it's not a pleasant feeling. But if I ever had to use it against a bad guy, his face would be a little more gentle and forgiving than a door frame. And if I had to hit a bad guy in the face, a sore hand in one spot is going to be a whole lot better than whatever I stopped from happening. So that is my next little complaint, but I mean, that's like nothing at all. One interesting thing I found is when I hold it by the end right here, I can actually swing it, And by doing that, I was like hitting that same door frame. And of course, I didn't have the issue of it digging into my palm because I'm just swinging it. Unlike other, I guess you'd call them like non-solid weapons like nunchucks or stuff like that, the string is such a short distance that when you hit it and it bounces back, it like bounces around your hand, and it's basically ready to go in about like in less than the blink of an eye. You don't have to hit it and then do like another move to try and recapture it and get it back under your control. You hit it, it bounces back, and it's ready to go again. And honestly, I was putting holes, or like I was putting divots in that door frame that were as big or bigger than when I was just jabbing it in like that. So if somebody was messing with you, you could put your finger through it and hold it like that, or you could just hold it by the end here and do just as much, if not more damage. So honestly, I think it has more uses than the guys originally believed it had. Oh, you can kind of see some marring right there. I guess that's the word. You can see some marks on the points where I was hitting things with it. Let's see. The finish around the edges, it is starting to show a little bit of wear. That's just because I've been keeping it. I've been spinning it on my finger a bunch. I've been hitting things with it. I've just been generally enjoying it. Overall, I'll give it 4 out of 5 stars. An 8 out of 10 rating. Because I like it. I mean, all the downsides, all the things I was saying bad about it, I guess you could say, I still like it. It's still fun. I've still enjoyed this thing. I've enjoyed having it. I've enjoyed looking at it. Honestly, I kind of even like the color, like this bright neon yellow. I love that it's a 7mm Magnum. I think that's awesome. I like the shape of it. I like the look of it. I like the silhouette. I like this like acid etching thing they have going on. I just like it. Like if you could scale it down about 20%, I would only like it more. If you gave me like I said, just for instance, like a bottle opener or something like that on there, so that I would have more reason to carry it around. And if somebody ever stopped me, I could say something that wouldn't get it taken away. That would only make me like it even more. I mean, hell, either of those two things would bump it up to a 4.5. Probably both of those, I would have no option but to give it 5 out of 5. So yeah, overall, as it sits, I still recommend buying one. They're not that expensive. They're like under 30 bucks, I think, when I'm making this review. So really, unless you're just broke as a joke like I am, there's no reason not to buy one of these things. 4 out of 5 stars. As long as you don't have super small hands and you're allowed to carry something that has no purpose besides hitting bad guys in the face, and you have at least 20 bucks or like 30 bucks to spend on it, buy it. By all means, do it. That is my in-depth, probably not all that comprehensive review of the Imminent Threat Defense Lil Bastard self-defense device. Alright guys, have a good night, stay safe.